Happy Tuesday and welcome to Build Your Best Life. This is Coach Deborah D. Smith. I am so excited that you are here because you could have been anywhere else, but you decided to join us today on our Build Your Best Life talk. You know, my theme for this year is it's all about actions, your words, your steps, your gesture, your posture, your facial expressions, your voice tone, what you write, the movement of your eyes, all speak volumes, and are your actions. What your actions say are crucial to others. So remember, stop and think before you act. Hi, RJ. How are you today?
I'm doing absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for asking. I'm glad to be here today. And you? How are you doing?
I'm wonderful. And we are so happy to have you back. Our theme for October is positive living, ultimate success. A lot of people think they don't have to do anything, just sit back, take it easy, but you got to put in some work and you will ultimately get that success that you want in life. So we're excited. We want y'all to come in, like the page, turn on your notifications so you'll know each and every time we go live. Share with friends, family, especially young men. We want young men to be engaged because that is my niche, to see young men that realize that you can overcome obstacles. There are things that happen in life because life happens, but that is not your destiny. You can overcome those obstacles and build your best life. So please share with them. Well, today RJ has been here a couple times, several times, and I always enjoy having him back. Today we're talking about I Want OP. But RJ, we have some new people hopefully out here listening. So can you tell everybody a little bit about yourself?
Yes. So was to keep the rundown nice and brief. Was it I'm a 20-year-old. Was it 20-year-old college student going to community college right now over in Tarrant County College here in Texas. Was I live out here in Duncanville. Was it and I'm also going to the University of North Texas. I'm a communications major. So my whole thing is I pretty much do a bunch of talking. Was that's like the career path I want to plan to go down. Want to go into news broadcasting, or was it prayerfully eventually I want to go into motivational speaking, inspire people a lot like how my father does. So was it that's so was that's the whole goal for what RJ Miller wants to do. And then just a little bit more like fun facts kind of thing. I love trying new things. I love being active. I love being in the gym. Was I believe that the gym is one of the best things you can do overall holistically for you and in general. Was it has great mental and has great physical benefits and everything like that. What was it? So I love being active. Basketball is my first sport love and might be my last because I try and get in other sports, but basketball, me and it are just too tight. But what was it? Then lastly, I also love doing kind of transportation sports, like biking. But personally, I like skateboarding and snowboarding. Number most of all, so not something you can do too often here in Texas, but yeah, it's something I do enjoy to do whenever I get the opportunity. So those are some little brief fun facts and what you can expect from RJ.
All right. Well, I see your dad recently went skydiving. You think you might try
Yeah.
that?
Yes, actually, was it? He had told me right after and before he went skydiving, and then he recently just invited me to go with him next time. So was a lot of my friends, they know me as a risk taker. They know me as was it just like if you tell us RJ something new, something fun, he's 85%, 90% chance gonna want to do it, even if he knows nothing about it. So skydiving has definitely been on the list for been on the list for me for a long time. I've actually done indoor skydiving before already a few times. So what was it? Actual skydiving is gonna be surreal. I'm actually like, wait, who was it? I'm giddy excited about it because I love seeing things from a different perspective and seeing beautiful things in life, and which is why I love going to like state parks and things like that. But
Mhm.
skydiving is a whole different league because you get to see the world from a view that probably the majority of the population in the world never gets to see the world from. I don't know if we're going to be going up past the clouds, but imagining being actually be able to be up in the clouds is mind blowing. So yeah, I'm
Yeah.
excited for that. I think we're going to be going sometime in November. So if you guys see my dad, see Ricardo Miller Sr., if you see him posting something about that, you'll probably see another guy with some dreads. That'll be me. Yeah, so it'll be a really fun time.
All right. I'm looking forward to it.
Most definitely.
Okay, well, although it's right in front of their faces, many people don't realize that they are negative, that they turn people off and turn people away. And they don't understand, why is it that, I would love to be in that circle, but those people never include me, and they can't understand why. It could be something as small as they never smile, or it can be something as significant as they talk down to people, they, degrade people, make fun of people. So, RJ, in your opinion, what are some signs or habits that indicate that someone is negative?
Some signs and habits that I believe that someone can find that someone is negative is whenever things seem like, what was it? So I was actually talking about this recently to a very close friend of mine. I'm talking about I think the term is infinitives or something like that, but it's talking in very permanent speech. And usually, oftentimes, I like to avoid talking in permanent speech because there's not a lot in life that's permanent. There's not a lot in life that's guaranteed, except for death and taxes, as they used to say, or whatever, right? But
Right.
I believe that talking in permanence can outcome was it can be somewhat dangerous for someone who I personally value words a lot, and I believe that your word is bond, and your word is value. I believe that talking in permanent tenses can be pretty dangerous, especially for someone who might oftentimes be talking negatively. Like for example, like saying just like, oh yeah, like skydiving, for example, right? When I tell my friends going skydiving, was they'll say, oh yeah, no, that could never be me. I'm just like, see, the thing is, right? What was it for me? Like the thing that I kind of pick out immediately whenever I hear that is I hear the word never. I'm just like, never, it doesn't exist. Like, let's be real, like never oftentimes doesn't exist for a lot of things in life, especially whenever it comes to new experiences. So whenever I hear somebody say never, I'm just like, I mean, I've kind of retired from the argument game because I was penny my teachers back in high school used to know me for always trying to find loopholes and always wanted to find the right way to argue my way into being right, this, that, whatever. But I've retired from the game. If you have your opinion, I'll give you my positive spin on it. And if you keep it there, you keep it there. But what was it? One example is definitely talking in nevers. Oh yeah, I would never do this, I would never do that. Oh yeah, like or fitness, for example, like what was it, like a friend of mine, super strong guy. Me and him are very, very close in physical build, but he's squatting like 350 pounds and I'm squatting like 275. And one of my friends, she was like, oh yeah, no, I could never do that. I was just like, I mean, with enough effort, you might be able to. I was like, I mean, I can't speak for like your literal physical capabilities, but your mind's going to be the first thing to start this. What was it? If your mind's not agreeing to something, your body's not going to agree to it. So that's the first step you got to take. So I think that what is it? Whenever it comes to your speech, that's the first thing you got to look at whenever it comes to whenever it comes to negative patterns. And I'm talking about speech not only like verbally, but what you say in your mind as well. Like was it whenever something goes wrong, whenever something like was it doesn't seem to be going your way, are you immediately just like, oh my God, like this again? Or are you sitting there was it like, are you more so problem centered or are you more so solution centric? You have to make that decision. You have to find that perspective for yourself. Like for me, like usually I won't say like I'm the perfect person because I definitely have my fair share, fair share of challenges and struggles. But was to say like whenever I'm faced with the current challenge, like academically, right? Like right now I'm in academic no man's land. I'm taking on a completely different set of classes, taking on a completely different set of challenges this semester. I mean, part was it like maybe somebody else in my shoes would say, man, I'm never gonna get these grades back up. But no, I'm sitting here looking at my grades and just like, well, all right, so what can we do to what can we do to fix this? Well, I've been presented a challenge, and I believe that in life, whenever you're presented a challenge, you're presented an opportunity to grow in character, you're presented an opportunity to build and grow within yourself. Because what was it like that kind of also ties back into your ties back in to properly having the right perspective when it comes to dealing with negative things. So first one was it how you verbally deal with things, your speech and everything like that. Is it negative speech or is it positive speech? Secondly, is your self talk negative or positive? And then lastly, was to wrap this last point up shortly, how you interact with other people. Was it do you oftentimes appreciate the smaller things? I found out that was appreciating the small things in life is a major key whenever it comes to having a general positive outlook in life. Like whenever, for example, like do you appreciate whenever someone opens up a door for you, or is it something that you just kind of glaze on to say that people should always be doing? If it's something that you glaze on to say that people should always be doing, maybe was it you believing that someone should always be opening up the door for you, it's going to lead to you being frustrated whenever somebody doesn't. However, if you change it from people should always open up the door for me to, hey man, it's a great opportunity. It's a great time whenever someone opens the door for me, man. I'm really appreciative that someone really took their time out of their way to go and do that for me. And I'm not sitting there having that whole mental conversation for myself, but for me, I like to open up the door for everybody else. And if I see somebody else do that for me, I'm just like, wow, they didn't have to do that. That's a great little small thing. Or even if you look outside today, like right out here in Texas, right? Everybody knows Texas is very, very hot. But today I was able to walk outside in some jeans and then not immediately sweat. So that's another thing that I would be able to say you can be really, really happy for. You could either say, oh man, it's too bright. Go ahead, appreciate the sunlight, or go ahead and find yourself some shades. Like, was just taking in some of the smaller things in life and being able to appreciate some of this, some of the amazing gifts that you've been provided in life. If oftentimes was I feel like if you're oftentimes looking at your life and looking at the things that you're missing versus the things that you have, that's a major, major, major opportunity and major, major aspect as to your was it whether you're thinking optimistically or you're thinking pessimistically. So was the last step that I would say, and the last thing to look at whenever it comes to seeing if you're a negative or positive person is, are you appreciating the small things that you're receiving in life? Are you appreciating the phone that you got? Are you appreciating the headphones you got? Are you appreciating your Netflix subscription, your friends, your family, your hair, your skin, your was whatever it is? You know, there's so many things that we have that each of us have individually that other people don't have the blessing to be able to have. So yeah, those are the three short points I'd like to offer to say you can look at whether you're thinking positively or you're thinking negatively.
Yeah, those are great examples. Appreciate those. I believe it is that when you find you're negative, when you even look at favorable things, as you mentioned, and you find the negative in those things. And people do it all the time, as a couple examples. Someone has graduated from high school, their parents give them so they, of course, being a high school senior, there are already a lot of expenses. But as a gift, your parents give you a car. And then you complain because it's 2 years old. Well, why couldn't I get a brand new car? Okay, they didn't have to purchase you a car anyway. So you're looking at it negative, like over half of your peers would have appreciated that car. So,
Yep.
That's just being negative for, I would say, for no reason.
Yeah.
You got a grandfather, he's well off. He saved his money. He worked hard. He had a savings account, a 401k, and all of this. So you open his card. He gave you a car. So you just know, this is going to be a good sum in here. You open it up. It's a nice, crisp $100 bill. Just throw it over to the side. Don't even take time to say thank you. And you open it up the next gift. How many people would have appreciated that $100, but
Yep.
you think you deserve something so much better? That's being negative.
Yep. Most definitely. Yeah.
And then it's one last one. You're a student. You're taking an exam. You've taken the exam, and the professor or teacher is walking around handing out the papers, which I know they don't do nowadays. It's mostly digital, but say they're passing out the papers and they tell this one student, you made the highest in all of my classes. Congratulations. And then they give you your paper and you made a 96. You slam your book. And instead of saying to the one student, hey, that's great, man, good job. Well,
Yep.
that you studied and you made a 96, you made an A, but you don't even appreciate that. That's just being overly negative. So do you think that people are just naturally negative? Something makes them that way, or they just don't realize how negative they are really being?
Well, I think that people generally, I would like to think that us as people aren't naturally negative, because I remember I was listening to this podcast or maybe a book back in the past, and it was talking about this guy's experience, and was in his experience he had this one time where where for some reason he had just been over flooded with joy and just appreciation and was overall joy, and it seemed like everything that he wanted in life was right there accomplished. He was looking at he's mentally doing a checklist. He's saying, man, I really have everything I want right now. And what he decided to do at that moment in time is was it to say, like, to give the analogy, it's a proverbial jar, right? It's a jar, and this is your joy jar. So he was saying that in this moment, his joy jar was completely full. And at his moment, with this joy jar being completely full, was that he still continued to have more and more joy pour in. So what he decided to do in that moment was he didn't decide to go ahead and close his jar and then try and open up something else and then try and save as much joy as you can for the future. Was it what he did in that moment, sitting there realizing all the great things they have in life, took out his phone and just started texting and calling people that he loved. He's like, hey man, I love you so much, this, that, whatever. He just started spreading and giving out that joy and everything like that. So was it in that particular moment he had said that he believes that personally humans was it he believes that humans once we reach our joy capacity that we are was that we naturally should was want to go ahead and spread and share that joy. It should be within was it should be within our own human nature to want to spread and share that joy. Now, I say, should, because oftentimes there are plenty of different cases. There's so much trauma and so many like bad things that happen in the world to all these other people. So there are things that can change those cases. However, and was it in a great world, and then was in a great opportunity in a great case that was it people should usually want to spread that joy whenever their joy jar is all the way full. So I believe the things that can take away from take away from the opportunity to, or the perspective to want to go ahead and share and communicate that joy with others is firstly a perspective that joy can only come in such a limited right, that joy is a limited resource and not something that you can be created. Because I believe that joy is something that can most definitely be created with the right perspective in your mind.
Yeah.
Because if you're of the school of thought that there's only so much joy for so many people, you're going to get greedy. It's just like it's just like thinking there's only so much money for so many people. Which means technically there is only so much money for so many people. But I'm also a big believer of, we're in probably the most frugal age that humanity has ever been in for making money. I mean, I'm not going to go into my whole financial tangent because, man, I could rant about that for hours. But I mean, there's people out there making money off of their joys and passions online everywhere. I mean, there are young millionaires out there from just unboxing videos on YouTube. There are young millionaires out there from doing vlogs and everything and just recording their everyday life and making it cool. Making it enjoying and entertaining to watch. I mean, for example, like the biggest person on the platform for YouTube right now is a man who started off his YouTube content and made himself big off of giving money away. That was the reason that he got big. It's because he had eventually built up a large enough following to get a sponsorship, got $10,000 and said, hey, got $8,000, and then told his sponsorship, said, hey, if you guys give me $10,000, I'll go out and give this to somebody on the street and I'll make a YouTube video off of it. It's gonna go viral. Trust me, $10,000 looks better whenever you put it in a YouTube video. Went out and did it, video blew up, and the rest was history. And now now he does just huge, extravagant things, giving away money to people all over the world and everything like that. So, I mean, I believe that we're probably in the most financially frugal age that we've ever lived in. And I think that not only is that financially true, but I also think that that's true for a lot of other things, including joy. Now, although that we live in an age where, comparison is everywhere, this should also give us an opportunity to realize comparison is everywhere. And it's a matter of how you're comparing yourself in these rights. Now, I could sit here and say, man, I'm a 20-year-old and I live with my grandparents and everything like that. And, I don't have a 2022 car. I don't have, I had to go and liquidate all my stocks from having a car accident. Oh, woe was me. Or I could sit here and think, man, personally, what keeps me pushing what keeps me pushing and going is just comparing myself to myself. Was it looking back at where I was a year ago? To say the least, I did not think I would be at where I was at. I was still here in community college. However, I was distant from my friends. I was going through a really, really rough breakup at the time. I had no idea where I was going to be standing within my family structure. My self-esteem was at an all-time low. I was wondering where my self-value would be coming from. I was like, man, if I can't accomplish this without this girl, how am I going to get through in life? And now looking at to where I am now, 9 months to a year later, I'm at where I feel like I'm best physically. I feel like I'm looking the best I've ever looked. I feel like I'm feeling the best I've ever looked. Although my financials aren't where I want them to be, I know exactly what I need to do to get to where I need to go. My relationship life is blooming. My friends are blooming. My family life is blooming. All those things, just comparison just within that can show you that, man, I'm living a great life. And that's just me. I definitely have privilege and great things in life. However, there are people out there that are infinitely times more privileged than me. But I guarantee you there are also people out there that are infinitely times more privileged than me, but don't have the same perspective. So they're not succeeding in as much joy. The key to joy and the key to having true prosperity and prosperity isn't something that's always financial. Prosperity is something that comes from the inside as well, I believe. Having true prosperity can come from your perspective and how you're appreciating things that you have. For example, right? Here's one thing that it's just a freebie for you all out there, right? For me, I usually have to eat out, right? Because I don't usually have enough time to sit down and cook at home. But for example, whenever I used to live with my mom used to cook for me at home, and I did not realize how much I loved a home cooked meal until I didn't have them on access every single day. Now, for some of you guys out there, was it for some of the young college students who may still be living at home, or for some of the young college students living on campus, everything like that? Think about the fact that you have something to eat. Think about the fact that for those of you living at home, you have some home cooked meals. Like, come on now. Like, I mean, hey, you might not appreciate it right now, but a home cooked meal is so much healthier than anything a McDonald's meal could get you, anything a Chipotle meal could get you. Like all those are great. It was great things and great examples to show in comparison of how you are absolutely blessed. So was I believe that's one was it one amazing writing to say that there's a big perspective perspective plays a huge part in what was and where your joy comes from and where your was it and where your perspective to become appreciative comes from. So was I believe that the two things that usually play the biggest part and was in whether you're perceived or not as a negative person or a positive person is whether you're truly appreciating all the things you have. So was it really taking a look at the privilege that you have? Because I mean, was it most people have privilege in some kind of right? You just have to take a true self-evaluation and see all the resources that you have and then look at that and then be appreciative of it and then appreciate all the joy was appreciate all the things that you have. So was it I believe that that's probably the biggest factor the biggest factor that comes into play whenever it comes into um you know generally not being negative. Because was I believe that was it being negative, and the thing is too was it this is the last point that I'll draw on for this whole segment right here for it is I believe that was you are what you attract. Was it no, you attract what you are. There we go. That's what it is. So you attract what you are. So the more negativity that you put out into the world, the more that those things will continue to compound and roll onto you in your life. So like was it for example here, right? Was I believe was I started to go really, really heavy into, was the perspective over the last 9 months of, really appreciating me. And was it really saying that, I believe that I am like, what was it? I believe that God has blessed me to was blessed me to be who I am, and God blessed me to be a great person. God's blessed me with so many great gifts and all these other great things, and was it's just generally a great thing to be who I am. Like was it's not in comparison to anyone else, but it's a blessing to be at where I'm at and who I am and capable of what I'm capable of. So was it having that same kind of perspective? Was it that drawed in not only more blessings, but it drawed in more positivity, more people that have that kind of have that kind of similar perspective. So was one of the major things I was sitting there worried about in college whenever the people were talking about it is because after I finished high school, me and my original friend group, we had separated for a little bit, like for about 6 months we weren't talking. And I remember in those 6 months I was sitting there, I was like, man, they told me college is where I was going to find all my longest term friends. I'm sitting here going through COVID, just like I got no close friends, man. It's just me and my girl, and this is it. I'm just like, man, all right. And then after me and my girl broke, I was like, man, it's just me. I was like, what am I supposed to be doing out here? So then was after that, I was like, man, I don't know what direction I'm supposed to be going from here and all that. But then then I slowly started shifting my mindset. Then I slowly started I started to better myself and I started going to that iron working forge for all those young men out there. Iron sharpens iron. I started to take myself and put myself against myself and just hammer. Okay, RJ, how are we going to keep on improving? How are we going to keep on improving? Because you know what? If I stay right here, I'm not going to be of help to anyone. So I was like, all right, cool. I'm not going to be able to help my parents. I'm not going to be able to, if I wanted to get this girl back, I'm not going to be able to get this girl back if I'm standing right where I'm at, if I'm still staying where I'm at 6 months from now. So I got to start putting iron to iron. I got to start going hitting the gym. Got to go and start reading these books. Got to go and start getting these runs in, get my cardio in. Make sure that my insides are just as healthy as my outsides. Got to go and start putting in my work for school. Or I got to go and just start, grinding. And as I started doing that, this was the first great connection that led off to a series of great relationships and great people that I met off into. So I was sitting there doing my little work study job, was grinding my school, grinding my work, grinding my money and everything like that. And then I went out and go and talk to this young man who was also named the young man's name is Javon, which ironically enough is the same name as one of my childhood best friends' little brother. So as soon as he said that, I was like, oh man, this is crazy, everything like that. We immediately hit it off, shook hands, became friends, started working out together a few months later. And then literally we were having a conversation inside the gym. He said, hey man, RJ, Was I know this may be a little bit weird, man, but I want to ask you, bro. Like, what was it? I can see you being like one of those long-term friends that I have, in life. Like, what was it? Even after college, everything like that, like, was I can go ahead and call up RJ and just see, hey, man, we're like in our mid to late 30s. How are you doing? How your wife doing? How's your kids doing? And the thing is, was it, that's just one particular excerpt to show that me and him both had that mutual appreciation to have a long-term friendship, but to also say the quality of this friendship. This guy is one of the number one guys I can depend on and make sure that I'm not going to be complacent. I'm not sitting where I'm sitting at. Because for me, right, was as I was saying earlier, I'm a big fitness guy. I'm usually working out in the gym. I'm training everybody else. It was whenever I'm working out with all my friends, because was I started working out by myself, and then they started asking me if they could come along with my workouts. So usually a group of like maybe 6 or 7 of us. I'm leading out the workouts. I'm teaching everybody else how to go. However, when Javon shows up, Javon says, "Hey RJ, what are you doing today?" What are we doing today? He's like, "Okay, all right, cool. We're doing bench." I go ahead and put on 200 pounds for bench. He was like, "All right, cool." He puts on 215. I'm just like, wait a second, what? I'm just like, all right, cool. So I'm going there doing 200. He's doing the same thing at 215. I'm just like, all right, now let me step up my weight. All right, let me push a little harder. Let me push a little harder. So what was it? We're sitting there, push each other inside the gym. He's asking me, "Oh man, how's your relationship life going? Oh, this is how my relationship life is going. Oh man, it was, are you treating it right? Are you treating it right?" Me and him are both sitting there going back and forth, making sure we're both was treating our people right. Then after we go in there, then we go and challenge ourselves academics wise. So what was it? This one small little spark, this one small little friendship that I made in there? Was it me putting myself into a mindset and putting myself into a perspective of positive feedback loops and just positively growing? It attracted this young man to me, and was it attracted him to me? Attracted him to me, and I was attracted to him. Yeah, it was, and then I was attracted to him and all his positive values, and then it was ended up just coming into this whole like it's almost like a recipe. It's like once you start mixing all these positive things together, everything starts mixing all together. You get this perfect cake almost of like was it of overall momentum and success. Was it because one of the great things about success, one of the great things about persistence and growth is that it works off momentum. So as you continue taking small steps, eventually it grows into an exponential growth. So was it me and all these small steps that we put together, we eventually grew to being at where we're at now. Two young men getting ready to head off into our universities respectively. He's going into nursing, I'm going into communications, and just overall heading off in amazing directions. So I believe that continually working on your positive feedback, continuing positively working on yourself is eventually not only going to change you, but it's going to change your environment and the people around you as well.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, we can tell from uh, your conversation so far and what you've had to say about people and people being negative and your responses that you are not negative. And I know some of the people out there have been wondering, okay, you say, I want OP. What is OP? Well, we're talking about optimism. So we can hear from RJ and his passion, how he relates to people and success and being the best that he can be, that he is optimistic. So who could have been better to be on this segment than RJ, who is so optimistic? So, so I know that you agree with me when I say wanting to be optimistic is a step in the right direction, and more people should want to be optimistic. But first, that negative person has to see the signs. They have to realize that something is going on that is not quite right. They can look at other people and say, anybody that's sitting back and looking at you, that young man, he always seems to be happy. He's always busy. He's going, but it doesn't look like he ever has a bad day. Maybe he does, but it doesn't seem like it. So can you please give everybody out there, especially your peers, some tips on having a positive mindset and becoming more optimistic?
So I believe that I believe that everything kind of comes down into intentionality. And for me, like usually being a naturally out I don't know if it's naturally or it's just the matter of the habits and everything that I've built and that the village that's raised me is built. But having already ingrained within me optimism. It definitely helps, because eventually my day will always end up becoming around to be positive if I keep and remain Was it two major things I think are extremely, extremely, extremely key to making sure that was not only your days are great, but it was you and optimism remain great. Is that your day is always your choice. Was your day is always your choice, literally until you go to sleep and end it. Was it because like that was a very slept on lesson that was taught to me from a was it from a great friend who was I don't even know if she taught I don't even know if she knows the significance of that lesson that she taught me, considering the fact that we were both peers as well, both in college. But was it she didn't even directly teach it to me like that. Well, she didn't even directly tell me, hey, yeah, your day is always your option, but she just always used to ask me this question. She'd always ask me like, was like she'd ask me like earlier in the day, RJ, how's your day been? Oh, okay, man, yeah, my day's been great. Was this that whatever? Then later on, a few hours in the day, just like, yeah, RJ, how's your day going? Or like, was it how is your day? Was it because at first I'd take it as a kind of base question for me. I'm someone who talks to a lot of people in a day, so I have my normal like little political was it little PC politically correct answers. Oh yeah, my day's been great. This that whatever. Just to finish the conversation. But she asked it to me every day, and eventually I was just like, okay, I'm kind of getting bored of giving these answers, so I'm just gonna give you a real answer. So eventually, be like, yeah, my day's been all right. But was it then she would ask me again later in the day, and was at that point in time I'd realized my day has changed. So then I'm just like, oh, okay. Yeah, 6 hours ago I thought my day was going to be terrible because was I got a flat tire, or like was I got into an accident. I was just like, or I fell off my skateboard. I was like, man, dang, this day is terrible. But then I was just sitting there. You asked me 6, 7 hours later. Oh yeah, my day's been going great. Like, what was it, man? Like I'm sitting there working out. I had so many funny conversations with my friends. Like just that small act of was it her persistently asking me, just say, how's your day been going? It opened up my mind, or reminded me of the fact that your day is always your choice. Was no matter no matter what events transpire throughout your day at the end of the day is always your choice. Was because there are so many factors in life that are outside of our own reach and outside of our own control, that are outside of our own control. However, it's always our choice on what we want to do next. Like for example, right? Was it today I would say has been a pretty great day. But let's say for example, was I'll take like a day that I've woken up late for class. Like was it like a day I woken up late for class, I get it. Was it like was it like my body won't be feeling great because I didn't get to go ahead and eat like my fruits for breakfast. I came in late to class. Was I had to go in there and catch up on an assignment, and then I have to go in there into work, and as soon as I get into work, then my boss give me all these different assignments. I'm just like, man, dude, I can't catch a break yet today. I've just been sitting there I start off this day tripping, and I've just been trying to catch myself ever since. But then eventually sitting there, the day is always going to reach a point in time where you have the decision. It's in your hands. So whenever I'm sitting there, I finally sit down inside the office. My boss is giving me all the tasks. I have all the homework I need to do. I'm like, all right, it's RJ's time. All right, it's RJ's time to make the decision. So I sit down there, make my decision. Put him. What I usually do to make sure that RJ's taking the control of the next few steps is I put in something that makes me feel good. Now whether it's going to be an audiobook at that time, whether it's motivational audio, or even just some cool music. Put in some music in my headphones, open my laptop, start getting to work on my homework. Then boom, start getting to work on my assignments for work. Then take my headphones out. A few hours later, got all those things knocked out that need to get knocked out. So now I finished all the work that I need to do. All the responsibilities, boom, take it off my shoulders. So now I can get to go back in. And thankfully enough, I'm blessed with a job that I love the social environment. It's a whole bunch of students, and we all just get to hang out and talk with each other for most of the day. So most likely after I finish getting done with that work, I could go in there and hang out and talk with my friends. So I'm sitting there, talk with them, chopping up, probably hear some funny stories, probably have tons of laughs and everything like that. And by the time we finish there, then after we finish off of work, I go and work out. Go in there, and workouts are all up to you. It's all up to how much effort you want to put in, everything like that. So I go in there, get a great pump, get a great pump, everything like that. So then starting off my day at 9:30 was just tripping and stumbling and all this other stuff. Going into work at 12 was everything like that. Just felt like I was slammed on, slammed on, slammed on, slammed. By the time 8 p.m. came around, I got all this stuff just done. I got all this stuff that was on my shoulders done and knocked out. I made some great memories and some great laughs with my friends. I did something today that helped out my body continue to progress to where I want my body to get to. Man, RJ, you actually made yourself have a pretty great productive day. I was like, man, all right, cool. At the end of the day, it was my choice as to where I wanted to get to. So what was it? that was a major key for that one. You always have a choice at the beginning of your day, and how was it how was it and where you want to take it. So then, secondly, was one of the other major things that kind of comes into key whenever it comes into making your day yours, and overall having something positive to go for is for me how I start my days. So like as I was saying, eventually I'm blessed to be able to have an environment that eventually usually turns into positive. Well, starting off your day, if you have the option to start your day however you want to, which I believe that a lot of us do, it's just a matter of how you organize your time. Start your day right. So was it starting your day right can look different for everyone. But for me personally, starting my day off right looks like first thing I should be consuming in my body is some water. Then secondly, I should be eating some fruit, brushing my teeth, everything like that. And then whenever I hop in the shower, was it for a little short 10 minutes, what I like to do is if I'm intentional about that day and I say, hey, was I don't know was I may be waking up feeling like was it the term waking up on the wrong side of the bed. For some days I'll just roll out of bed. I'll just be like, man, today already feels off. If the day once that was, if Satan's sitting there trying to plot on me like that day, I'm like, all right, no, I bet. Let me get extra intentional on how I want to beat you today. So was I go in there, I make sure I check off my boxes to start my day off right. Drinking water, eat some fruit. Then when I hop in the shower, I take was one of the great YouTube channels I like to listen to. It just gets me grinding in there. It just gets me saying, all right, man, I'm capable of accomplishing anything I could want to today. Was the YouTube channel is called Motiversity. It's called Motiversity. It's like motivation. It's like motivation and university combined into one word. What was it? So I like to listen to Motiversity. They have a whole Spotify account. So I literally put them on the Spotify. I take my little Bluetooth speaker, put it inside the shower, and for those 10 minutes that I'm in the shower, what's just sitting there telling me is just like, man, you got this. Hey, what was it? Today is your day. Hey, what was it? How much further are you gonna go to? What was it like one of the great things that I usually remind myself of whenever I'm sitting there, remind myself of all the great things I want to accomplish is there's someone who's already in my spot. There's somebody who's already in my position wanting to do what I want to do. How much harder am I going to go than them? So it's just like, all right, yeah, what was it? Hey, how much harder are you going to go to the next person right beside you? Hey, man, this is all up to you. It's all in the head, this, that, whatever. So, I'm listening there. I'm sitting there in my shower, just getting ready to start my day. Was just listening to some of the most like motivational speeches like out there. And the thing was, one of the great things I love about Motiversity too, is it takes motivational speeches from everywhere. Takes them from Kevin Hart, The Rock, what was it like different celebrities, athletes, like motivations, like everyone. Takes them from all different walks of life, puts them in a little short, into little short digestible bites and like 5, 10, 15-minute videos or 5, 10, 15-minute audios for me whenever I'm listening to them on Spotify. So whenever I'm sitting there, by the time I hop up the shower, I feel like I'm getting ready. I feel like an NFL player getting ready to put on their pads and go and dominate the game. So and keep in mind, this is just a student getting ready for their day. I was at this point I feel like a great analogy for it is whenever you start your day off like that, it's like taking your little Toyota Camry and taking out the engine and putting a race car engine in it and putting some race car fuel in it. You're in there putting elite fuel and elite power into a day-to-day kind of day. It puts you so much farther ahead than all the other people and all the other similar competition, all the other similar positions. So I'm sitting there in my normal day-to-day life, but I'm sitting there with some of the best motivation that they've got to offer. I'm just like, all right, let's go and get it. So was it that whole waking up on the side of the bed feeling already gone? So if my day wants to get ruined now, it's going to have to throw a real hard curveball. And even if it did, I've already got the 10 minutes of inspiration, the 10 minutes of a reminder to say, hey man, you've got this. Hey, because one of the things I love about the audios too is it always is trying to talk directly to the listener and saying, hey, the person listening to this right now, you decide to go and take out a little bit of extra time out of your day to not just go in there and just listen to whatever. You decide to take time out of your day to listen to this motivational audio. You want to be different, so you are capable of it. So sitting there listening to stuff like that, I'm like, man, I can accomplish anything right now. So what was it? Like those two things I believe are ultra key to making sure that you can have an amazing day and continue to feed into the power of optimism and positivity. So don't forget to start your day off right. And don't forget to, whenever you do get shaken up a little bit, make it intentional to make that choice whenever you are in control to say, hey, what am I going to do to make this day right from here on out? because the debt was the outside world can only impact you for so long. You're eventually going to get the road. You're eventually going to get the reins again. You're eventually going to be behind the wheel again. And when you do, are you going to continue to turn the way that the world wants you to turn in that negative way? You're going to try and steer that wheel back to positivity, because sometimes it's going to be a little bit hard to steer it back. But I guarantee you got the power to steer it back. Even if it's 1 inch at a time, you got to turn it back. So those are definitely 2 points that I've got to offer on taking that small little chip by chip, step by step journey towards working on optimism and positivity.
Yeah, and how you start your day is so key, so important. I like to frame it as make sure you have a full charge when you start out your day. So basically the same thing, but whatever it takes to get you all pumped up and ready to go. So what did you say? It's
Yeah.
motiversity. Is that right?
Oh yeah.
Motiversity.
Motiversity. What was it?
Motiversity, or meditation, prayer, reflection, whatever it takes. When you need to make sure that you are fully charged and ready to go, and it'll make your day so much better. And then when those things come up against you, because life happens, you're ready for it, so you don't have to come off negative. So it does
Most definitely.
it does make a difference. So as we prepare to close, please provide your definition of optimism and why it is essential attribute to develop.
What was it? So what was it? My definition of optimism would be the ability to to be able to always see the glass half full. Because what was it? And then what was the second part of the question? Can you remind me?
Why is it essential to develop this attribute of being optimistic?
What was it? Okay,
Optimistic.
most definitely, most definitely. So was it why I also believe it is most definitely essential to develop the perspective of optimism is because I got presented this whole concept a little while ago, the fact that there's always two sides to every single coin. Now, there's like that's a very, very like deep concept to try and get into for a much later date and everything like that. But there's always two sides to a coin. So that takes it even in even in negative situations, there's always going to be a positive light to kind of flip to the other side of. Like looking back at it for me personally and some of the trials and tribulations that me and my friends had gone through, right? During that time, during that time I had seen like I had seen no positive outcome from it. And, while I was going through it, I also I'm not gonna lie, I'm also gonna say that going through that time, I didn't have an optimistic view of it. However, having and the thing was one of the beautiful things about building optimism for your now, building optimism for your future, is that also optimism is something that I believe it's almost like a wine or it's almost like a stock because it's going to appreciate in value and exponentially appreciates in value. Because optimism for me right now may be able to take a stub toe to be able to say, okay, yeah, cool, I'll just avoid it for next time, just keep it pushing. But optimism for my future as well can turn all the previous lessons and all the previous trials and tribulations that you had in the past into specific character development and into specific things to be able to build you up to the individual that you're supposed to be for your future. Like, because I'm a large believer of, all the trials and tribulations that we face in our lives, they're all sent to us for a reason to be able to get us to where we need to be. Because oftentimes, was it like the term, or was it like the term that God saves his his hardest challenges for his strongest warriors? I believe that that's something that without the power of optimism, you wouldn't be able to become that strongest warrior. All these different trials and tribulations that we face in our lives and everything like that, and all the different walks of life that we may go through. Optimism is the thing that turns turns like take this for example, right? All the things that we go through in life, we're just handed this giant bag of just assorted dirt and metals, right? They just hand us this giant bag. It's like, all right, what am I supposed to do with this? It's heavy, it's spiky, it hurts, it looks like just a whole bunch of dirt and just like rusted pieces of metal. Now, what optimism is a huge furnace. Optimism is great because you can, sometimes in the heat, it may seem like it's a little bit too much. Something like, all right, that's too bright. All right, bro, you're being too much right now. But optimism, whenever it's needed and whenever it's used, it is very, very useful. So during the winter, you can always huddle up next to optimism, whatever. It's a little joke. But what was it? So taking that big bag of metals was all those things you've gone through in life. What you can do with optimism, you can toss them inside that furnace. It's gonna melt it all down. It's gonna take all that dirty sediment, all those negative experiences, and all that stuff that just purely wasn't positive. Gonna drain it all out. Gonna settle down to the bottom. And what's going to rise to the top is all the great ores and all the great values and lessons. I wouldn't be able to, was it like for a great example for it, right? All the previous relationship struggles I'd had in the past, they were all those different mistakes and everything I learned, all those different mistakes I learned in how to treat her, all those different mistakes I learned in gift giving, all those different mistakes I've learned in communication. All if I hadn't have gone through any of those experiences, I'd still be fresh. I'd be like a noob. I'd still be a freshman in this whole relationship thing. So now was having all those things was it so all that dirt and sediment settled down to the bottom, and all the lessons and all the wisdom rises right up to the top. So was it so after you toss in all your life's trials, all your life's greatest worries and woes, as your wisdom rises to the top and settles, boom, you get to take it out and you get this great you get all this great cold hard value. And then you can decide what to do with it. Was you have this great just sheet of metal it's called your value and your character. So now you get to carve it into whatever you want. You get to carve it into the shape that you need it for. So it was after all that happens. And the great thing about that is because life is always going to throw you more stuff. Like you may think that, oh man, I went through all these relationships and now all I have is just great relationship advice. Yeah, I'm great in a relationship, but how am I going to learn how to be financially frugal? Oh, don't worry. Life is going to teach you how to be financially frugal. Because if you turn on that optimism and you decide to go and use that optimism for your financial mistakes now, because you're never going to have just one bag of metals and just one bag of trials and tribulations. You're going to have was a giant bag of metal and trials and tribulations for all different walks of life, for how you treat your family, for how you treat your finances, how you treat your body. You're gonna have all these different lessons and all these different mistakes and errors, and you're gonna be able to pour them right there into optimism. And then once you pour them right in there into optimism, all that same process, all that sediment's going to drop down to the bottom again. You're going to come right back up, all without that wisdom, and you're going to have another great opportunity to decide what you want to do with it. So I feel like that analogy kind of hits around the head for those visual learners out there, because I'm extremely visual too. Though I'm a talker, it would surprise you, I am a very very visual learner. The imagination is always running up here. So hopefully for those visual learners out there, you got that kind of concept to see that optimism is the furnace that refines and melts down all those trials that you had to turn them into something that is valuable, not only just positive but valuable. That's the very very key thing in it. Because because if you can realize to see like take it for example, right? Like looking at it, all these like different countries all over the world. Like if you take a look at some of the biggest deserts out there in the world, if you look at it just plainly, like at the surface, from a pessimist point of view, which is the opposite of an optimist, you just say this is a big desert. It's just a bunch of sand and dirt. But if you take the positivity from it, some of those deserts have some of the largest oil reserves in the world. And if you look at politics, you'll learn and know about how valuable oil is. So a little bit of
Yes.
optimism, a little bit of ability to search a little bit deeper than what's at the surface will teach you about the amazing skill about how to pull out value from almost anything. And not only and once you pick up that, man, I'm telling you, not only are you going to attract amazing people, but you're going to be attracting amazing people. They're going to want to learn. They're going to be wondering about how you're always able to pull out all these great lessons. Because the great thing about wisdom is that if you're dedicated to learning from the mistakes and everything that you learn, great wisdom can come to you for free. It's just a matter of how you look at it from your perspective. Was all that was it? Because I can say personally, right? Like some of the greatest lessons that I've learned, I come from some of the most unlikely sources, just because I took the bag they gave me, melted it down, and pulled out the wisdom I got from it. Hey man, I'm not sitting here. I don't sit here and talk about all this stuff because, oh man, RJ's like a next great philosopher. No, I just happen to know how to pull out the value of the things that I've been given, which is a skill that everyone can pick up, which is a blessing because it shows about how amazing we are as people. If you can pick out value, you can pick out value. Honestly, it just means that you have value. It increases your value once you know how to identify value. There's a huge reason as to why NBA scouts are so widely coveted, is because they can pick out great value, they can pick out great potential. So was it optimism? That's why I would say it's the furnace, it's the value finder in your life. So was it once you can key in and lock in on some great optimism, It starts to unlock the gates for what you can do in life, man. Was it negativity and challenges no longer seem like negativity and challenges, but opportunities for you to grow and for you to learn and flip the whole script around. Was the devil? The devil don't want you out there learning from the things that he's throwing at you. He thinks he's going to try and offset you, but once you pick up optimism, he doesn't know that he's really just giving you ammo. Was it to be able to turn this whole story around? But yeah, that's what I'd say is the best way to view optimism and where optimism's value comes in.
That is awesome. So if you have been listening to this, you only caught part of it. I'm sure you want to listen to it again. If you only caught the last part, you definitely need to go back and listen. This is a young man, and the information, little tidbits that he has given today, you had to get out of it how important it is to be positive rather than negative. Because, I mean, that last one, hey, that'll preach, RJ. Just taking all that stuff, putting it together, melting it down, and letting that wisdom rise, and you're able to use it from your experiences. Because I know RJ said it, but as we go through different situations in life, and some of us just fall down and we just, oh, woe is me. I can't ever get over this. Why is it happening to me? You have to take time. Life happens. Okay, I'm going through this for a reason. Let me just take a breath. Just go through this storm, because most times when you go through that rainy storm, you come out to sunshine, a rainbow. Mm-hmm. When you get out to the other side, what did I learn? God is either going to give you some experience for yourself, something that you can use in the future, or you can help somebody else with. Are you going to teach you a lesson? So you do it for a reason, but he has given us some wonderful information about being optimistic. And, it's not fluff, because that's why it's important to listen to this entire video, because each of his responses, you can tell that he is being sincere. He's not just talking the talk. He walks it as well. And this is what we need. This is what I want to show on this platform, that our young men are intelligent. They go through things as well, but that doesn't have to dictate their lives. They can go on to be better, teach other people, and just, build their best lives from that. So thank you so much, RJ. It's always such a joy to have you on.
Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to be on.
All right. So everyone, please remember to visit my website, which is www.buildyourbestlife.org. I have a blog that comes out each Monday. You can check out my calendar of events, and our next big event will be next month, beginning on the 14th, our Blessed and Grateful Conference. So check the calendar for that. As well, you can find out more about Build Your Best Life. You can visit my store that has my services that I offer, which is coaching, consultation, speaking, webinar speaking, and you can get your autographed copy of my book, Build Your Best Life. And this book is basic principles that will assist you in overcoming obstacles to build your best life. Go on the website, order your book. You'll get an autographed copy very quickly. If you prefer the Kindle version, it's Amazon.com. But again, thank you all so much for tuning in today. Enjoy the rest of your day. Make sure that you tune in on Thursday, October 20th, as we will be talking about growth mindset. As you talk about positive thinking, there's a fixed mindset and a growth mindset. You want to have that growth mindset, and that's what we're going to be talking about on Thursday. So please tune in at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And remember, as you travel on your road, before that, RJ, is there anything you want to say before I close out? Get ready to close out.
What was it? I don't really have. Well, I really have too much, but I will toss in this last little snippet. Just to say, what was it? One of the things that I want to always say and preach out to was all my fellow peers and all my was especially all my young fellow African American men, all my young fellow Black men out there, was is that you should never was it you should never get too comfortable with complacency because was one of the things that I used to always say is that it's a little dark, a little morbid, but was I believe that complacency and comfort is the place where dreams go to die. Was it whenever you get too comfortable, whenever you get too complacent in the place that you're at, was it's whenever was it's when it's almost like back in that the old parable in the Bible, whenever God had given those men those gifts, they decided to go and bury them deep underground. Was it when they decided to go and bury them deep, bury his gift deep underground? Whenever you decide to hide it and just sit on your gift, it doesn't grow, and oftentimes it begins to degrade and rot. So was it whenever you decide to sit on those gifts that God has given you and you decide to get complacent with where you've gotten in life, and you decide not to continue to further grow and continue to further bloom and blossom on the things that you've been given and on the opportunities that you've been provided and all the amazing things that you can accomplish. Oftentimes you'll end up oftentimes other things end up coming in life to try and attack you, to try and take away your positivity, take away the joy, take away the things you've already accomplished and gathered. So one of the things I want to preach out to all my other young men out there is, continue to go out there, continue to go and chase those dreams, man. And continue to surround yourself with other like-minded individuals who want to accomplish that as well. Because great things usually always take a village. So was a perspective of running away from complacency and continue to drive and strive for the best version of you, and the best version of you and all your friends can only lead to great things. So I'm not asking all you guys out there to go and be millionaires, but I am saying for all you guys out there to go and truly strive to be the best version of yourself, and to not let anybody tell you what your cap is, because your cap is only for your cap of potential is only as large as you believe it to be. And I guarantee you, it's probably way, way, way bigger than you think it is, because God created some amazing individuals out here, and you're one of them. So, I'll leave it at that.
Oh, that's awesome. So there you have it. So remember, as you're on your journey to being a better you, there will be pitfalls, rough terrain, and detours. Don't let any of those negative aspects of your journey stop you. Though they may slow you down, keep going to be a better you so that you can build your best life. And remember, building your best life is our business. That's not a slogan, it's our commitment. We love you. Be safe. Take care. Be looking for you on Thursday. And RJ, I'll be in touch and we'll be back on soon.
Will do.
All right. Bye-bye.